Hi, welcome to I Made This. I'm going to show you a couple things today. I'm going to make something from my drum set, kind of like a tempo block-ish, like cowbell. Stay tuned, see what I have to show you. Things you'll need in order to complete this: a pencil, a straight edge, tape measure, some type of a saw, a miter saw, circular saw, table saw. Don't recommend like a bandsaw or anything, but you could probably get it done that way. You're gonna need any type of stock of any kind of wood. Here I just have scrap wood that I'm gonna use, and let's get started. So first, before this curve here, I have 8 inches of material. So I'm going to set my fence for 4 inches, that way I have an even square, and if it's not on the glue up, it won't be as bad because we can just straighten that up with running it through the table saw. So basically what we want here is to make a square. We're going to dado out a little section for the noise to be made in there. It makes a little knocking sound, and that's what we're going to do. So let's set the fence. Set it to 4 inches. Make sure we're nice and square here. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is just pass this right through. And I apologize in advance for the noise. It's going to be a little bit loud. Okay, now that I've got this done, I got both my blocks here, and the next step is to find the portion that I want cut out, that I'm going to dado out on both sides, so it makes a little hollow part in there, like a square, like this. Hopefully you can see this. You're going to want that to be all hollow in there, so when you hit it, it's going to make a pretty cool sound. Then of course, you can either leave it like a block, which I might do, or you can round it, the edges, and make it look a little bit better. But let's get started to the next step. I'm going to measure the depth that I'm going to want for this, and I'll show you that right now. So hopefully you have a type of saw that you can set the depth for. I'm just going to line it up here with what I sketched out. That looks about good right there. We're going to want to make sure that we save this and that we don't try to move it after we cut this piece, and then that way that these two are exactly the same, so when you put them together they'll be the same right here. So next step is to get cutting, and for this part I highly suggest having either a miter gauge to pass it through, which probably isn't the safest thing, but if that was your last resort, I don't recommend doing it by hand or with push sticks, because your workpiece is gonna get away, wobble, you have chances of cutting yourself. So I do not recommend doing that. I do recommend using a sled if you're using a table saw, to make the cuts a lot easier. So let's check that out. Okay, now that I got my sled out, this is what we're going to use right here. Just something that you can push your work through. It's just a rough sled that I made when I first started woodworking. It's just something that you're going to want to pass things through. So obviously now the depth isn't going to work, so what I need to do is I need to readjust my depth, because now we have this extra material on here using the sled. Now I'm going to want to clamp down 2 stop blocks. Some people only do 1. I like to have 2, that way I just have leeway just to go back and forth. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So basically all you're going to want for your stop blocks is just 2 chunks of good enough size wood that you can set up right here. So I'm going to measure and set up, and then I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll start our dado cutting. Okay, now that I've set up my 1 stop block, I'm going to cut this piece, this work piece, all the way through. It's going to make a cut here. I'm going to flip it over, repeat the process so that you have the same amount on each side, and I'm going to do that for both blocks. And I'm going to do that right now. Now you're going to want to make sure that you don't mess up. It doesn't matter what side that I marked it. Just make sure that you don't cut one here and then you accidentally cut a line here. Just make sure that you stay on both sides. Always keep your cut facing down, and then just pass each cut through. Now I'm just going to make sure that my stop block didn't move for any reason, because if that happened, then it would be uneven spacing here. So we're just going to check that out just by lining it up, and then looks good here. Okay, now I'm going to make my second pass. Normally you just pull your sled right back, but unfortunately the one that I'm using right now is a little on the sketchy side, and I don't want to risk the movement because it does have a little bit of play in it because of so much use. So probably in an upcoming video I'll make a new sled, so be looking for that. Now I'm going to just move on to cutting this one to be identical to this, and then the next step from here is just to cut out all this. Just cut it all out. So all this is going to be gone right here, and then so will this, and then they'll meet up. I'm sure by now that you can pretty much follow. Okay, let's make our second pass. Just take it nice and slow. You don't have to rush the things. Make sure safety is always first. Make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. Just make sure that you're taking safety precautions. It's not worth rushing to get cut. So let's move on to the next one. There we go. Now you can start seeing the idea. Now we're just going to fill in all this, and then we'll have a hollow area in between, and then we'll be able to make this an instrument. So now let's set up for cutting the dado and having 2 stop blocks so that we don't go too far and we can just keep passing it through. So let's set that up right now. At this point, there's nothing that you really need to, you don't need to get too close. So right now I'm just going to worry about getting out as most of this material as I can and just get it all out. And once we get a little bit closer, we'll set up our stop blocks so that we don't exceed those cuts. So now I'm just going to make a couple of passes through. It may look like my fingers are a little close, but I got plenty of room. I won't have a problem with it jumping with me because I have a back so it'll prevent kickback. So let's get started. Once you get something like this, you can see pretty much what's going to end up happening. You get a little bit of chip out here, but that's no big deal. All this material will be gone. So, I'm going to start removing some of the material off of here, and then we can work even more. I apologize for that motorcycle. But, like I was saying, we're just going to remove some more material, and then once we get it, then we'll really be able to start making a lot of passes. Unfortunately, I don't have a dado set, so it doesn't go quicker. So I'll come back to you and I'll finish these up with cutting all the dado.